Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to detailed analysis of articles which are published in the explained section of Indian Express. Here we take up all those articles which have not been covered under the DNS initiative but are equally relevant for your UPSC preparation. Articles taken from the first week of May are listed on your screen and the time stamping for the same is given in the description box. So let us start with the first article itself. Well, before going into the video itself, there's an important announcement. If you are confused about which optional subject to choose, how to find the best teachers and academic support for your optional papers, and above all, how to prepare for the same during difficult times, well, look no further. Rao's IAS has best solution for your optional subjects and related problems. We are conducting optional orientation session on 22nd and 29th May 2021, in which you can learn from Rao's IAS teachers about how to prepare for optional subjects and how are we going to help you in scoring best in the mains examination. Optional batches are starting from 4th June and 5th July 2021 via live online classes. Consider this as a call to all those who wish to completely cover the optional subject by December this year. This will ensure timely coverage of optional paper, optional subjects, and then you can focus on your attention towards the prelims right from the January next year. And also keep revising the optional subjects till you appear for the mains examination. Rao's IAS is offering guidance for political science, public administration, history, sociology, geography, economics, and psychology from their centers at Delhi, Jaipur, and Bangalore. In the description of this video, there's a link which you can use to register yourself for the orientation program for the respective subject sessions. So the first explained section for today's discussion is related to the international affair and an ethnic clash which took place in between the people of Israel and the people of Palestine. This article of explained actually talked about what happened or what was the reason behind the clashes that took place in the city of Jerusalem and around Al-Aqsa mosque. The background of the article says that there was a clash between Palestinian people and the Israel forces, including the police forces, in the Jerusalem's most important mosque of Al-Aqsa. Now, what we will read about is that what is Al-Aqsa Mosque, where it is situated, is a little bit of map work related to the, of course, Israel and Palestine, and the background behind this clash. Now the question arises that why they are fighting, why there is an ethnic clash between the two communities of Israel and Palestine. What happened previously that Israeli people were taking out a procession. So it was a simple procession which they were taking out across the streets in the Jerusalem, and they were celebrating the Israeli capture of East Jerusalem in 1967. So during 1967 there was a Arab-Israel conflict and Israel actually won the war and it undertook or captured the east part of Jerusalem. When this procession was going on, some people from the Al-Aqsa Mosque threw stones and the rocks on the procession, and this led to the security forces getting intervened in the entire conflict. Now, this is just the one side of the coin. The other aspect of the argument says that many Palestinian peoples were earlier evicted forcefully from their two sites in the East Jerusalem. So what happened that, suppose this is the entire city of Jerusalem. It is divided into two different parts. First is the West Jerusalem and the second is East Jerusalem. In the eastern part, what you have is the majority of the Palestinian population. And this eastern part was actually captured by the Israel in 1967. Now what had happened earlier or before this actual conflict, that some of the Israel forces actually evicted people of Palestine from this region and they were forced to leave all those places where they were inhabiting previously. And this has actually led to the conflict and enmity between the two different ethnic communities. Well, both Israel and Palestine considered Jerusalem as their capital since 1980s and 2000. So these are the different dates from which they have actually officially declared Jerusalem as their respective capital. Now we should read something about Al-Aqsa Mosque and where it is situated. Well, Al-Aqsa Mosque is situated or located on a plaza at Temple Mount. Well, it is nothing but a central placed in the central part of Jerusalem, and it is a raised platform situated a little bit of higher than the other surroundings, and it is also known as Haram-e-Sharif in Islam. Apart from this mosque, there is a mount or there is a high raised platform, and this mount is also part of Judaism holiest site. The dome of the rock is the actual place where this entire structure is situated, and the dome of this rock is the golden dome. We will see this very soon, and it is the most important structure in the city. The Wailing Wall, which is also situated on the western side of this mosque, is sacred for Jewish population or Judaism. It is one side of the retaining wall of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque is central to the rival claims over Jerusalem. So whatever current ethnic conflict or the current crisis is going on between the Islam and the Judaism in the region is based on the claims over this particular centralized place. While non-Muslims have not been allowed to worship at Al-Aqsa, so irrespective of the historical significance of that mount, non-Muslims are not allowed to enter that place. However, Jewish individuals and their groups have been repeatedly made attempts in order to gain the entry to the Mount Temple Plaza. So this is the area where Judaism or the Jewish people are trying to get their entry into. It has led to repeated clash and tensions, and the recent one is just the another manifestation of the age-old conflict. Now, as you can see, this is the wall or the Wailing Wall which we have talked previously. So this is that wall which you can see on the screen. This is the holiest place of Judaism, and they considered this as a very sacred position or a sacred place for their religious beliefs. When you come at the real picture of the place, you can see this is the golden dome which I was talking about in the article. On this side or on the western front, you can see a different structure altogether. This is the side which is relevant for the Judaism. This mosque is relevant for the Islam. This one is for the Judaism altogether. And because of the proximity of these places, there is a conflict since ages. We will also look into some of the aspect of the map where this Israel and the other related places are situated. This is important for your UPSC examination, as UPSC has asked question previously as well, and one important question was related to the Golan Heights situated in the north of Israel. In this map you can see we have provided a screenshot of North Africa as well as the West Asia. The places which you are seeing right now on your screen are part of 3 different continents, including Europe, Africa and Asia. I will just mark up as a revision few important places. As you can see on this green line heading towards the south, it is nothing but the Nile River or the Nile Valley. Nile River ends up in the Mediterranean Sea, so this is your Mediterranean Sea. This is your Cyprus Island, very controversial place. The places above in this map you can see are nothing but the part of Eastern Europe, including your Greece. This entire structure is nothing but the part of another controversial place in the news or the nation, which is Turkey. Now, our focus of the article will remain around western part of the Asian continent. As you can see, this small place is nothing but your Suez Canal, and UPSC has already asked the question in the means. This country is what we are focusing upon. This is your Israel. This is bordered with the Jordan. In the north there is Lebanon, and in the northeast there is Syria. Israel also shares border with the another country which is known as Egypt. This is your Sinai Peninsula, and Sinai Peninsula is actually situated in Asia, but it is part of Egypt. The larger part in the southern direction or on the south part of your screen is nothing but your Saudi Arabia. This on the extreme right side is your Persian Gulf, which is the most important as far as oil transportation is concerned. On the right side, you have your Iran with the capital Tehran. Here we have Iraq with the capital Baghdad. So now we will go into the depth of this article and see what actual places were in news and why there is a controversy. So let us zoom a little bit into the place and see what this actual controversy is all about and the areas in the nearby Israel. So as you can see in this image, the place or the small green area in the middle is nothing but the Dead Sea, and this Dead Sea is divided between Israel and Jordan. On the left side of the Dead Sea, what we can see is an area known as Jerusalem, which is also claimed as a capital by both Palestine as well as the Israel. However, apart from Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, which is on the coastal side of Israel, as you can see in the left side or around the coast of Mediterranean, is the most important city or the town in Israel, and most of the nations have their embassies and consulate in this Tel Aviv city. Now going more into the detail of the area itself, as you can see there is a small dotted line which is given in the central of your map, and this dotted line is nothing but a division of the Jerusalem in eastern side and the western side of the city. Now you can see the exact place where the controversy has actually taken place. This dotted line on the map is nothing but the division of the city in two different parts, that is East and West Jerusalem. The place which was in the news for the conflict is this place which I have just drawn under this entire structure. The area which was in the news or the Al-Aqsa mosque is this which is I have just noted down, and this area is where the actual conflict has taken place. The western side of this area or this mosque is your Wailing Wall, which is important for the Judaism or the Jewish people. On the other hand, you can see the different side of this quadrilateral is an important holy church which is relevant for your Christian or the Christian beliefs. Such a small place in the city is showing you three different important religions across the globe and their ethnic importance for this place. This is the prime reason why frequently too many conflicts are taking place in this city and at this particular area. With this, now we should move to the next article under the explained section. This article is related to the recent economic initiative undertaken by Reserve Bank of India regarding the purchase of government security. The article says that why RBI wants to moderate the bond yield and what it means for the investors. So what we will discuss in this article is the reason behind RBI's such a move and what is the consequence of that move. We will also discuss about what it will and how it will impact on the investors. RBI or the Reserve Bank of India's recent decision to step up the purchase. This is the keyword. It is not sale. It is the purchase of government securities under Government Securities Acquisition Program GSAP. We have already discussed what GSAP is all about in the DNS initiative of RBI. So as a consequence of this purchase of government security, what has actually happened that the yield or the returns on the benchmark 10-year bond has fallen below 6%. You need not to go through these data. They are not relevant for your prelims or the mains examination. However, what you require as of now is to understand what this move is all about and what are their consequences. Now, what can be the result of this move? Well, it can result in gain as well as losses for the investor. Now, what these losses are and what these gains are, we will understand in more detail. The paragraph which you can see on the screen, or this middle paragraph, is the crux or the conclusion of this entire discussion. And whatever we are going to read or discuss in this article is going to be a little bit confusing for you. So understand this and lend all your ears and concentration to this article. And at any point of the time, if you feel you are not understanding this, pause the video and go back again to listen it thoroughly. Okay, if you are an individual investor and if you hold a bond carrying a yield of 6%, and a rise in the bond yield in the market will bring the price of the bond downward. On the other hand, a drop in the bond yield below 6% would benefit the investors as the price of the bond will rise, and that will generate the capital gains. Now I know most of you must have not understand this thoroughly, or most of you would not have understood this at all. So let me make this clear to you through a simple example on the given blackboard. Okay, so now understand this through a simple example. I will put the figures and data and values as simple as possible for you. Now let us understand this through a simple example. Let's say there is a company Y and it wants to borrow around 100 or maybe 1000 crore rupees from the market. What it has done, it has issued a bond of rupees 1000 crore in the market. But this 1000 crore is not something which a company will repay. They will also repay back the interest rate on it. Let's say the interest rate on the bond is 10%. Now the one who has provided the money to the company will get the interest as well as principal as their benefit. Now suppose that this bond was for 10 years. Now what will happen, that each year the benefit or the bond holder will get 100 crore rupees for 10 years, and after 10 years what they will get their principal back. So at the end of 10 years what they are getting is the interest amount of 1000 crore plus their principal of 1000 crore, and a total of 2000 crore rupees. Okay, I'm not going into the principal, interest, compound interest or many other formulas. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now we will go into the concept. Assume that instead of 10%, what we are going through right now is 20%. Now after 2 years, the interest rate has changed to 20%. And if the same thing goes on for the next 10 years, what do you think will be the benefit or the loss? The company will only pay 2000 at the end of 10 years. Now as the interest rate has increased, what the company will do, they will reduce the price of the bond. So when there is a rise in the interest rate of a bond or the bond yield, the price of the bond will fall down. Now what will happen? The investors which were attractive towards the 10% are finding 20% to be more attractive. They will just give up lending to this company and they will go to those companies which are paying principal plus 20% of returns. It means the demand of the bond of company Y will fall down, and on the other hand those who are paying 20% will rise. Now let us come to the discussion again. It says if an individual holds a bond carrying a yield of 6%, it could be anything, a rise in the bond yield, as you have seen in the case of 20% from the 10%. So there is a rise in the bond yield in the market will bring the price of the bonds down. So the price of the bond will go down maybe at 800 or maybe at 500 and so on and so forth. So what we have learned so far is that the relationship between the bond yield and the bond price is inverse. So if one is increasing, the other will go down, and this is the all complexity which was given in the article. There is nothing else you need to understand. Just understand, just make up your mind and learn this by heart, that when the bond yield goes up, the bond price goes down. There is a inverse relationship. One of the negative consequences of rising in the bond yield is that when there is a rise in the bond yield or the interest rate on the bonds, what will happen? There will be a pressure on the interest rates in the banking sector, which will lead into the hike of the lending rates. Understand this simply. If I am an investor and I have X amount of money, now what I can do, I can give it as a lending to a private company. I can give money to the government securities. I can give money to a bank in order to lend it to the customers. Now, if the bond yield or the interest rate which I am getting on the bond is higher in the market, so what I will do, I will bring all my money from different sectors, including banks, including stock market, including government securities, and I will put all my money in the corporate bond, which is giving me the highest interest. Now, if a bank want my money, what they will do, they will offer me higher interest rate than that of the bond yield. So if the bond yield is at 10% right now, so what bank will do? They will say, sir, please bring your money to us. We will pay you 11%. So if the bond yield is rising in the country, banks are going to face the adverse effect of that. So this was the first impact of rising bond yield on the investors. And this is one of the reasons why RBI is trying to moderate the bond yields and not take it to the higher extent. Now the question is that why bond yield are softening, or why the bond yield is going below 6%. Well, the first being that there is a sharp decline in the US Treasury yields. What does it mean? US means United States. So whenever there's a change in the interest rate in the United States, it impacts the entire global economy through the investment flows. If there is a decline in the yields in the US, what will happen? The money will flow out of the US and to the other economies, including India. And when money inflows into the India, it is obvious that the rate of interest will fall. Why? Because when R or the rupee increases or the money supply increases in the economy, rate of interest goes down. It is a simple economic phenomena. The next reason is that economic uncertainty caused by the ongoing pandemic or the medical emergency. It means that because of this, the economic slowdown is very high. Investors are going through a passive mode and they are not confident about the investment scenario in India. And the last one being, of course, the RBI intervention through purchase of securities in the market. This has also softened, or this has also reduced the long-term interest rate on the bonds. Now, what is the impact? The first impact that it will reduce the spread between repo rate and the 10-year government bond. Now, repo rate, you all know, is the repurchase rate. Now, what is repo rate? Repo rate is the repurchase agreement. It is the amount of rate of interest on which RBI lend to the commercial banks. Now, when there is a fall in the 10-year government security rate below 6%, it will go closer to what a repo rate is all about. So this will reduce that, and ultimately it will have impact on the banking channels as well. Next is that a decline in the yield or the rate of interest is also better for equity market because money starts flowing out of the debt instrument to the equity investment. Now understand this point through this example. As an investor, what you will do, you will invest in the banking sector. You will invest in the government sector. Why? Because you are earning a high yield or high rate of interest on either banking bonds or at the government bonds. But when the rate of interest is falling in both these sectors, what will you do? Well, you are an investor. You have amount of money with you. You will invest it somewhere else. So what you will do, you will buy bonds from the corporates, and ultimately you will also invest in the stock market. It means, conclusion says, when the rate of interest or the yield on the bond falls, the investment in the shares and the equities goes high. Next point says, when bond yield goes up, it is a signal that corporate will have to pay higher interest cost on the debt. So it is nothing but a reverse of the point 2. When the rate of interest on the government bonds and the securities goes high, investors will invest in the government securities and they will take money out of the stock market. And the last point says, as a debt servicing cost go higher, risk of bankruptcy and the defaults also increases. So if people are investing more in the government securities, from where the corporate will get money, from where Reliance will get money, from where Tata will get money. So what they will do, they will turn towards the risk of bankruptcy and they may even default. And this is how a corporate structure fails down if the government charges very high interest rate on their bonds. So what RBI is doing, they are not allowing rate of interest on the yields to go very high or to go very low. What they are doing, they are keeping it moderate to benefit every sector in the economy, including banking and the private corporate sector. The next article in the discussion is an important international space exploration mission. This space exploration mission is known as OSIRIS-REx and it was launched by NASA from United States. The article says that as NASA's OSIRIS begin its journey back from asteroid, the significance of its mission has been raised to manifold. OSIRIS. Now, OSIRIS is NASA's first mission to visit near-Earth asteroid. So what it will do? It will visit the near-Earth asteroid, stay there for a while and take all the samples back to Earth. On May 11, 2021, NASA's Origin Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, Security Regolith Explorer, and actually this was the entire name of OSIRIS. However, UPSC will not ask the entire name. They will just, if are about to ask, they will ask what is OSIRIS-REx mission. So OSIRIS on May 11th will depart from the asteroid Bennu and start a 2-year-long journey back to Earth. Now what has actually happened, just understand this through a simple explanation. We will utilize our blackboard for this. Assume that this is your planet Earth, our beloved Mother Earth. This is the pathway of the asteroid Bennu, and this is how Earth is also revolving around the Sun. Now what NASA has done? They have launched this OSIRIS mission to this asteroid Bennu. What this mission will do, it will spend a time on the Bennu. It will collect all the samples including the rocks, soil and all other things which is important for the experimentation. After collecting the samples, this mission will take course back to the Earth and we as a human race will make experiments through all those samples. It was in the month of October 2020, that is last year, the spacecraft briefly touched the asteroid Bennu, from where it collected samples of dust and pebbles. So these are the samples which will be brought back to the Earth. The spacecraft will finally return in September 2023. And it will bring back the largest sample collected by a NASA mission since its Apollo astronauts collected samples from the moon. You must have read or you must have known about those missions when first manned mission approached to the moon and brought back the samples from there. Now what is Bennu? Bennu is an ancient asteroid and has not gone through a lot of composition altering. Composition altering means the alteration or the changes in the composition of a structure as such. So there is no plants, there is no water as such over there, there is no environment over there. Whatever it was having when it was created millions of years ago, it is as of now. And this means that below its surface lie the chemicals and rocks from the birth of the solar system. So why we are studying Bennu? Because Bennu can provide us the insights of the time period from where the solar system actually started becoming or maturing. This can also provide us clues about the origin of the solar system because it has kept that originality of the solar system since its formation. Bennu was discovered by NASA-funded Lincoln Near Earth Asteroid Research Team in the year 1999. So it has almost been 22 years by now. It contains significant amount of carbon and various other minerals. So this automatically proves that when solar system was created, carbon was in the existence at that point of time in our solar system. Because of its high carbon content, the asteroid reflects about only 4% of the solar radiation. Now understand this through this example. Suppose this is your Bennu. Now what happens that every object which is situated in the solar system receives some amount of solar radiation, and suppose this is your sun and these are the rays which are arriving towards the Bennu. Now, as Bennu has a very high percentage of carbon content, what will happen? All those solar radiation which is falling on the surface of the Bennu will get absorbed and only 4% will be reflected back. Now, I want from you to comment me what is the amount of radiation which is reflected from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere. So if you know the answer, and even if you don't know the answer, just Google it and type your answer so that we can see that most of you are passionately participating in this discussion video. Scientists as of now believe that Bennu was formed in the first 10 million years of the solar system's creation. Bennu is also a near-Earth object and it might strike the Earth in the next century. So from the period of 2100 to 2200, there might be a case when Bennu might strike the Earth. However, the size of the Bennu is not as high to impact the Earth in adverse form. Through this picture, you can see the size of Bennu. This is the comparatively images, the size of Eiffel Tower or the Empire State Building. Approximate size of Bennu is 500 meters. So when you compare Bennu with the Earth, you will find it to be very small object to put any impact on planet Earth. Now there are two different keywords which are used in the articles, first being the asteroid and second being the new or near Earth object. Asteroids are nothing but the rocky objects. So there are no environment, there are no certain gas elements, there is no soil, water, plants, nothing as such is found on the asteroids. They revolve around the sun and they are much smaller than the planets. They are also called as minor planets. According to NASA, there are 9,94,383 asteroids in the solar system and the remnants from the formation of the solar system from 4.6 billion years ago. So all these asteroids are present in the solar system since 4.6 billion years ago. Coming to the new or the near Earth objects are like the comets or the asteroids nudged by the gravitational attraction of the nearby planets into orbits which allow them to enter Earth's neighborhood. Suppose this is your planet or Mother Earth and this is one of your asteroid. Now this asteroid was near another planet, let's say Mars. Now what happened? Because of certain reason, asteroid lost its gravitational attachment to the Mars. And what happened? It actually began entering into the gravitational force of Earth and start revolving around it. But because of the high gravitational force, what will happen? It will ultimately enter into the Earth's atmosphere or might even strike the Earth as such. We have seen these cases in the past or in the history multiple times, and this is one of the reasons why we have lost a large amount of biodiversity in the past. But now the question arises that where are asteroids situated? Are they near to the Earth or are they near to the Sun or beyond that? Well, through this photograph, you can easily understand where asteroids are. Asteroids are situated in a particular belt and they revolve around the Sun in the same manner as many other planets are. So this is your Earth with the Moon, this is your Mars and this is your Jupiter. All the asteroids as of now are present between the orbit of Mars and the orbit of Jupiter. Mars is the last rocky planet in the solar system, and Jupiter is the first gaseous planet in the solar system. It simply means that asteroids are somewhere between the rocky planets and the gaseous planet. So all those rocky objects which could not converted into the planets as such are now part of the asteroid belts. However, asteroids are not the only objects revolving around the sun in such a manner and in such a high number. There is another belt known as Kuiper belt or Kuiper object belt. It is also revolving around the sun, but they are extremely far away from the sun, and as of now humans have not ventured closer to that. However, there are different missions of the NASA, including the Voyager mission, that have passed by these objects. But we will not talk about these objects as of now because they are not part of our discussion. But you should remember there is another belt revolving across the sun known as Kuiper belt. Last article for today's discussion is related to a recently arising black fungus issue among the patients who are suffering from the COVID-19 crisis. As per the context, mucormycosis, a serious fungal infection also known as black fungus. So this is the keyword which UPSC can ask in the prelim examination, that black fungus is related to what? So it is mucormycosis, a fungal infection which is very rare or which is otherwise very rare, is being observed among number of COVID patients recently. This disease is often manifest in the skin and also affect the lungs and the brain in the human body. Now, what are the causes of the disease? The causes are very simple. A group of molds known as mucormycetes present naturally in the environment are the real carrier of this disease. And it affects who? Well, this disease actually affects those people who are on medication or who are under different treatment for health problem, and that reduces their ability to fight environmental pathogens. So when a patient is taking a certain amount of medicines and they are very vulnerable to the environmental pathogens, this fungal disease is bound to happen to those patients. The spread of this disease is through the sinuses and the lungs. What happens when we inhale the fungal spore from the air and our immune system does not fight back against these pathogens? The symptoms of this disease are very simple. There is a pain and redness around your eyes and nose, with the fever, headache, coughing, shortness of breath, bloody vomits, and also alteration of your mental status. The prevention of this disease is available. So if a person take up all these prevention or precautionary measures, they can prevent themselves from the spread of this fungal disease. First is to control your diabetes. As you have seen, most of the COVID patients who are going through the mortality are also the diabetic patients. So you need to control your diabetes, you need to control your steroid use, and also discontinue immunomodulating drugs. So if you are on those drugs as such and also going through the pandemic, you have to make a fine balance. A patient also need to control their hyperglycemia and monitor their blood glucose level, which simply means control your sugar. Expert or the doctors have advised many patients to use the mask if they are visiting a dusty construction site. So as I said previously, this fungus is available in the environment naturally. So a person need to be cautious if he or she is suffering from the COVID, because this environmental fungal can naturally enter their system and can cause this fungal disease. Another important precaution which a person need to take is that they should wear shoes, long trousers, sleeve shirts, and even gloves while handling soil, because most of this fungus comes from the soil itself. So while gardening, while tackling the moss and even the manures, a person need to be cautious. And lastly, the maintain the personal hygiene, including a thorough scrub bath. All these measures can help in order to reduce the fungus going inside the human body. And lastly, there is a cure available for this kind of disease. These are treated with the antifungal drugs. However, if fungal drugs are not functioning, the only solution available is the surgery. This information was not only important for the UPSC, we have also taken up this scheme in order to bring awareness among all the viewers who are watching these videos as of now. So this was all guys from the explained section of the Indian Express. Thank you very much for watching this, for lending your important time and being part of this discussion. From my side, bye for now. Stay safe, stay protected, read hard, work smart.